Okay, the next book that we're going to look at is a book called Polar Night by Mahaney, and I hope I'm saying his last name correctly. This is a book that I picked up actually secondhand from Matt Day, but you can still get it. This is a second edition, so it's not, I think there's a lot of them still floating around. So this book was published by some friends of mine at Tresspasser Books, and they make a lot of kind of soft cover and saddle stitched. I mean, they have a variety of books, but they kind of specialize in these larger, these larger kind of soft cover books. And as you probably know at this point, I'm a big fan of utilizing that form to create a feeling in your hand, to create something that is a little bit unexpected or just not something that we typically see in the really high-end photo book world. The assumption is that a high-end photo book is a, hardbound, Smith-sewn book. And this is a much simpler object, but I think it serves the work a lot. Okay, so let's look at Polar Night. The scale of the book is quite large. I have big hands, and still this is a large book for me. We open the cover, and this type of binding is a lot like a magazine, a traditional magazine. The difference is instead of being stapled, the binding is sewn, and that gives you a lot of strength, a lot of longevity. This book, even though it's a softcover book, should last a very long time as long as I just take care of it in a normal way. But as for the binding separating, that it's almost impossible unless someone's really rough with the book, which is a huge advantage to a binding technique like this. Okay, so we open up, all black, Polar Night, Mark Mahaney. There's a brief kind of little explanation, and where we're gonna go is we're looking at a community that lives in one of the coldest environments in the world. And the way in which we experience that is the thing that I find very captivating. Especially, again, the scale of the book serves this work a lot because the images are so large now when I see them. We have this very sculptural, almost, it's hard to tell what it is that we're looking at so far. It's a snow bank of some sort, but because of the color, and that's, I'm assuming, being illuminated by a street light of some sort, that's giving us that particular color palette, and the shapes and forms here. It almost looks like we're on Mars, so we're on a completely different planet. Now in this book there's a mixture of color and black and white. I'm not so sure that I like that choice necessarily. I tend to gravitate towards the color work in this book. I feel like the color work stands out to me. But again, just to remind you, when we look at photo books, we want to look at them for the author's intent, not based upon our preference or our bias. And so my bias is that I typically don't like books that mix color and black and white. But that doesn't mean that it's inherently bad or wrong. I'm not the artist. Mark is the artist. And so I want to gather from his story, from this narrative, from the takeaway. Okay, so we have this kind of night scene. I think every picture we see here, the book's called Polar Night, was made during the season of time where the sun doesn't come up at all or very briefly. Again, look how large. It's hard to tell scale looking at a video, I know, but part of doing these videos is I wanted to give you a sense of scale in some way if you're wanting to collect or to buy, to experience a book like this. Again, I love the color palette. The color work I gravitate towards so much more because of the difference in the street lights and these very just almost surreal spaces that we're inhabiting. But I say that, this image I'm assuming is black and white. It's hard to know for sure. It looks monochromatic to me, and it works really, really well. You have this, what is a road, but the way that this book frames this space, it very much feels like, to me, that I'm on a completely different planet. I kind of get that, like, Total Recall, the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, those vibes a lot from something like this. Oh, I mean, just look at the purples. I know the video's not going to do it justice. Again, I think this is a book that you should own, or I wouldn't be showing it to you. But the blues of the skies and the purples, and there's just hints of oranges in the windows. And all this is done by whatever the lighting that's available in this space. But it just, again, it makes this lovely, lush, beautiful color palette that I think is really quite wonderful. And we have a pairing of a black and white of this dog that's kind of completely black. For some reason that gives me this kind of Daido Moriyama vibes. Not really, but anytime I see a black and white dog that is somewhat obscure or strange or not exposed all that well, I always go to Daido Moriyama. I can't help it. We have a chain here, and then the dog's looking across the page, and we have something that I love, which is a Chevrolet square body truck. I have a 77 Chevy pickup truck that occupies a lot of my headspace, and when I'm not making pictures, it serves as a wonderful avenue of relaxation for me. And that's something maybe we'll talk about in the future, of like, how do we attain and keep inspiration, and it happens how do we find it outside of our craft? That's another rabbit trail that we'll follow. So we have this old Chevy pickup truck. This would be like an 82, 81, 82 and up. And again, the color to me, it's everything. How it sculpts these snow embankments. All of these images are just so very well seen. We have this large street space. And a picture like this, because of, I think, the haze, and especially the haze from the headlights, and I don't know if that's because there's a lot of snowfall happening right now or it's foggy, but it almost takes me out of time. Like, I don't know when this was made. This could be, this could be an early American road picture. This could be like almost like a Robert Frank. Not really, it's not that aesthetic, but that kind of era. Or can be totally contemporary. Again, the color palette here I think works so well. We have these just lovely messages for the neighbor. The texture, it's hard to tell again on the video, the texture that you get from not only the scale of these images, but just the details and all of the bits of snow. And yeah, it's hard to really show you, which is why I think this is a good book that you should buy. It's a wonderful experience. Every time I open this book, I get a very visceral experience of this space. And this does what Photobooks do well, in that it creates a world for us. And I think what's even more beautiful is it not only creates a world, but it gives us a window from a singular perspective into a world that I at least haven't experienced in this landscape and the people that live here. And we haven't even seen a person yet. It feels so desolate, and an image like this makes it feel very violent. But I think surviving in a space like this obviously is an extreme effort. To exist in a space like this, to exist in this other world, to exist almost like you're on another planet, it takes an extreme amount of perseverance and strength. I can't fathom living in an environment like this, but this book gives me a small little window into it. And it's documentary in nature, but it's not just documentary. It's transmitting and translating certain feelings. It's asking things of me as the viewer, which is what photography does well and what it should do well. We get another pairing now. If you remember the black and white dog on this side, and then the orange with the truck, it's kind of flipped with this spread where we have this, you can't even see the door on the side of this building. It's so kind of covered in snow. And that's another thing I noticed, that in this environment, I'm accustomed to snow falling straight down, but not sticking to the sides of buildings. So I'm assuming the wind has blown that snow and it's stuck to the side of these buildings where you almost can't even see what is there, which is a door. And we have this beautiful A triangle shape here. I'm a sucker for beautiful triangles. An old, I can't even remember what those minivans are called. It's almost, they're a rarity to see anymore. I'm amazed that this one has survived in this environment for so long. I think they were like Illumina or something. Could be wrong. Again, the color for me does it really well. And you'll see this a few times to where you'll have this big swatch of color and then you'll have another color paired with it, kind of below it with the different colors of lights. But, it makes this really lovely palette out of this desolate, kind of terrifying place. Again, we have these two color palettes. I love the warmth with the cool going together. Lovely triangles. I love my lovely triangles. This almost appears like this is a headlight of a car illuminating just from the angle and the shadows being cast. We have another big, what feels like Mars to me. These especially these types of landscapes where there's a lot of clumps of snow does feel like I'm on another planet. And then we have our first human that we see in the book, which to me, it really surprises me. Like at this point, and we also are getting to, and I tell my students this a lot, whenever you see an image that's on the left page and there's not one on the right page, that typically is a nod. It's not overt, but it's a nod to a chapter shift or a movement shift in the book to where this is kind of almost like an ending point, and then we're going to start something new on the next spread if you just see one solely on the left-hand page. And we have this wrestler, and the wrestler is actually being illuminated very similarly to this picture here with the light going up. We have some of the same shades of color that we've seen in other images. This one baffles me. I'm not sure why there's a wrestler. Out of all the people, I would have expected someone in heavy clothes or something at this point in the space that I'm seeing, because I feel again like I'm in this otherworldly, and I've been outside and this is the first time we're inside. So I mean, we could probably project some obvious, someone combating the environment kind of thing. I think that's a little on the nose. I doubt that's exactly I hope that's not exactly the point, but this image really sticks out for me. I need to spend more time with it to really kind of gather where we are. Now, we have this white page here. We'll have a transition now from what we've just seen to this new space. And we have, you can barely see it, but this is the police department. Here again, we're back in the desolate outdoors. Again, and then we see another dog. It's a little out of focus. This again gives me that Daido Moriyama vibe really hard. A little bit out of focus, but this intensity in which this animal is coming out. I'm not sure if they're making a correlation here with the wrestler and the dog. Not really sure, but possibly. Again, books are more interesting when they ask us to figure it out rather than telling us. If it's too on the nose, it's not interesting, it's not fun. So the dog's going in, and then we end up in someone's having a very bad day here. This is inside of it looks like a truck of some sort, maybe a U-Haul because of the color here. I'm not sure really. Window's broken. Just a pile of snow in here is, that person's not having a good day. This is one of my favorite images from the book. The combination of all the wires have just about an inch of snow sitting on top of them, creating all these shapes. Again, I wish you could see all the little details to have this sense of scale and the little tiny subtle textures that are in here. We have, again, it feels like I'm on Mars. It feels like I'm on the set of Total Recall, except instead of everything being red, everything is white. And then again, we have the crosses kind of making a reappearance with the church thing. I don't know that I'm really feeling this spread a lot. But again, like, why are we transitioning from kind of the Mars space to more a note that we've gotten in the last movement of the book of there's obviously been people that have passed away living in this environment, and the crosses are marking their graves, I'm assuming. And then we also have another, and this is probably why now that we get to the next spread, another somewhat graveyard here. I'm assuming that's some sort of a whale bone or something. This is not an environment I know very much about, as you can see, with the lovely color palette and shooting. I guess this is probably early morning, giving you this beautiful blues to pinks. And then that's it. So this was photographed in the northernmost town in the United States, 320 miles above the Arctic Circle in Alaska. So that gives us finally the space that we exist in. And there's a little explanation here, which I always prefer there to be one. If there's going to be kind of a little bit of an unpacking for the author, I'd rather see it towards the end, because I want to have the freedom to explore this book myself. I want to have the freedom to try to make these connections. Why are the dogs here? Why is the wrestler here? Where are we? You know, how do people exist in these spaces? All of those things, you know, become really important for a photo book, because your viewer needs mystery. I need mystery as the viewer. And then one little thing, you know, one little cute. The book's called Polar Night, right? And so we've been in night scenes until we get to this bit right here. And sun's coming up. It's not nighttime anymore. So there's a little bit of a transition there of time. Not literally, but, you know, I'm sure that wasn't like the actual last picture that the guy made. Okay, so that is Mark Mahaney's Polar Night. Getting stuff on it. I will include a link of where you can pick this book up. At the time of recording, at least, I'm pretty sure you can still get the second edition. This is the second edition. The first edition, I'm sure, is very collectible and expensive. But my belief on buying a new edition is typically there's slight changes in the editions, but some people will shy away from buying a second or third edition because it's not as collectible. And I think if you're buying photo books just to collect them, just to sell them, you do you. But that's not what these videos are for. These videos are to encourage you to buy books that you love. And I think that's the book. Those are the types of books you should buy. Not the books that are popular, not the ones that are on a short list, not the ones that Aperture says are great or whoever. Buy the books that you love. Buy the books that speak to you. I mean, when I saw this book, I loved the work. I loved getting lost in this space. I don't care if it's collectible. I don't care if it has a little scratch on the cover. Because I've chosen for this book to live with me, to be in my house, to be in my office, that every once in a while I'll pick it up and look at it. That's the reason you should buy a photo book. Buy a photo book because you want it to live with you. You want the story to live with you, not because it's just a collector's item. So, okay. Well, I hope you like this. Hopefully you can get a copy and check it out. I think it's a really cool book. The images are beautiful. The structure of the book is awesome. You know, it works really well. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I would love to answer them if possible. All right, thanks.